It's now 7 o'clock. Anastasia, is recording going, or Tila, is the recording going?
Yes, the recording is going.
Oh, so, okay, so the Kenmore City Council is now in session. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mayor Baker,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Herbig,
Here.
Councilmember Marshall,
Present.
Councilmember File,
Present.
Councilmember Shrubnik,
Here.
Councilmember O'Kane,
Here.
Councilmember Curtis.
Present.
All right. If everybody will please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Am I the only one saying it, or I'm not hearing?
We muted it, otherwise we're all out of sync and it's very confusing.
That is
What is the
confusing.
proper etiquette?
Yeah, it sounds pretty crazy when
It
we're
works great for you to do it and we follow you.
Fine. All right, next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. If there are no objections, the agenda will stand approved as written. Next item on the agenda then is the presentation from Evergreen Health. Dr. Tomlin, is Kay with you tonight?
Yes.
All right, it's nice to see you guys outside of community advisors.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the same. Hopefully one day soon we'll be able to see each other in person again.
I'm hoping. I got that meeting request for October saying we're going to meet in TAN 101, and I got really excited.
All right. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed, but I'm not so sure. We'll see how.
I'm not so sure either.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks, Mayor Baker. Really grateful for the opportunity. We are appropriately distanced here, and it's sometimes hard to hear through these things, so I'll take my mask off while I talk. Really grateful for the opportunity to connect with you all this evening. We're going to give you a few updates about Evergreen Health and what we've been up to, particularly post the last 6 months of the response to the virus, and then a chance to say thanks for the community support. But a lot of ties with Kenmore, especially with you, Mayor, on the very, very important community advisors, a group that we really appreciate. And then City Council Member Curtis, who I work very closely with in developing the primary care part of our medical group and leading that medical group, and really grateful for Milton's not only support, but hard work and laying the foundation for some really, really great work with the medical group that's really thriving. And Milton, you'd be very proud, particularly of the primary care advancements since our time working together. Before that, I'd just say I've been at this now for about 14 months. And one of the things I really wanted to do in the early part of my time as CEO is to try to connect with the community, whether it was chambers, councils, school districts and such. We were in that work, and very glad now to have Stephanie Lizza, who's helped leading that work. But we had a bit of a diversion with the last 6-7 months of responding to the virus. And hopefully you found that Evergreen's response has been good, but I'd love any feedback you've had regarding that. And early on, when we were responding to the virus, we had a hard time even getting pizza in the place. We tried to phone out for pizza one night in the emergency department, and in the first couple of days of the week there, people were kind of terrified they might get the virus coming on campus, so pizza wouldn't be delivered. And by the end of it, the community had so many gifts and cards and deliveries of food that the emergency department told me that if this continues, we're going to have to get bigger scrubs for everybody. So really a big thank you to the community and their outpouring of support throughout that and continue even today. So a couple things to talk to you about. Kate Taylor actually is going to be my partner with this. She's going to take up in just a few minutes, and we're going to move to the next slide. So big thanks to everybody that's supported really the healthcare organization, from all of its clinics to the acute care hospital to home health and Monroe. We've really become a system of care. It provided a lot of challenges in terms of solving how you safely care for people in the midst of a pandemic, but great help from everybody involved, and particularly folks listed on this particular slide. One of the things that we wanted people to hear tonight, and as you're in the community as well, is don't delay your needed care. You've probably heard that, but in the midst of the virus, we had a number of people that waited too long for either stroke care or myocardial infarction, heart attacks, and had sustained an unreversible damage because they were afraid to come in and get COVID in the hospital. And I can just say that we've been very successful in keeping people safe as we've provided that care. So encourage everybody to get the care they need, and we can do a good job of that and do it safely. A couple of the things that have happened in regards to what's going to change for us moving forward, certainly virtual care. Milton and I had tried a long time to get more telehealth and virtual care into primary care. We just couldn't solve for the problem of the insurers paying for the visits. And once the virus hit, though, they quickly changed their tune. And so, Milton, you'd be happy to note that we've had a number of insurance companies step, including Medicare and Medicaid. And interestingly, one of our busiest clinics was a small one, was Duval. So even the smaller clinics really were very busy with telehealth. And a lot of work has been done in terms of how we see people and do that in a safe manner in all the clinics. Just an update on some of the things that have happened with the facility. That work has continued not only for now, but into the future. And so one of our real successes has been Kenmore Primary and Urgent Care. And again, Dr. Curtis, I got to thank you for that one. That used to be in really what looked like to be an old residential area. And I have to say, though, that Milton and his team had some of the highest patient experience scores in the organization. It felt like, I tell people, it felt like Cheers, where everybody knew your name. And even really being in an older facility, that they did such a great job with their patients that people were very committed. And so, Milton, you'll recall that when we got ready to look at a new site, we were going to build a smaller footprint there where we are currently, right next to City Hall there. But we were forced by the developer to get a bigger space. And I can't say how grateful we are that that happened, because we've quickly filled it up. And in fact, urgent care and primary care kind of bumping into each a little bit for space over there now. So the Kenmore facility has been very successful. I'm very glad, and that urgent care is quite busy. In terms of something new that just happened, urgent care in Totem Lake, real close to the hospital here, and all the development that's happened close to the hospital, had one of our most successful openings and rapidly grew into the urgent care. They were really surprised by the numbers. People are really pursuing care in an urgent care setting right now. So trying to meet the needs of the community, and urgent care is certainly that. And people have figured out that in many cases, urgent care is more appropriate than emergency department. So our urgent care numbers are way up, and the emergency department is down a bit. And we'll see if that continues to be so. There's always been a strong campaign to have the emergency department for emergencies, and perhaps people have kind of learned the appropriate place for that kind of care. Regarding new master facility plans, we are right now in the middle of our intensive care unit, brand new facility in the Silver Tower, if you know that tower where administration is, and the 8 floors. Really looking forward to that. Unfortunately, we're about a year too late to meet the demands of the COVID virus and intensive care. They worked in one of the oldest parts of our facility, but really looking forward to moving into that late spring, maybe early summer next year. And then the Family Maternity Center was built around the 90s, and so that needed to be refreshed as well. And so had some architectural drawings, and really looking forward to updating our women's and children's services on both 2 and 4 and 5 in the Blue Wing. Finally, the partnerships. One of the things we've learned as a healthcare entity is that we can't be all things for all people, but we will try to partner with other organizations so that we can provide much needed services. And the Eastside Health Network is an example of how we're trying to decrease the costs and increase the quality of care by working with Overlake in this particular instance, where they do the open heart surgeries and such, and trying to maintain the numbers in what's a very highly technical service, but doesn't necessarily have large numbers. And so best done at perhaps one facility, and perhaps Evergreen will be a facility for neurocare or something like that, so that we can do a really good job in terms of lowering the cost by not duplicating it, and then increasing the quality by doing a larger number of those cases. And the Eastside Health Network is a way for us to go to direct to businesses, particularly businesses of the size of 50 to maybe 500 employees, and try to offer a discounted insurance product so that they can get their care either at Overlake or Evergreen and all of our associated clinics at a discounted rate. And then finally, Seattle Cancer Care does a great job with cancer services, and so we've partnered with them for that care. Let's see, I think that is what I have. So I'll introduce Kate Taylor now. She talks about being your healthiest best. And Kate?
Thank you so much. To keep us all safe, I'll take off my mask only when I'm away from my partners here. And Mayor Baker, thank you so much for the invitation to be with you tonight. I know you have a full agenda, so I will go very quickly. And I can't start without thanking Dr. Curtis, who has been my friend since I moved here 10 years ago, and consistently went out of his way to help me understand the community, understand our needs, and to be a partner with us on everything related to the best for our community. So thank you for that. What we'd like to bring to your attention is that we have a number of programs and services that exist solely to serve our community. We are a public district hospital. We have the benefit and appreciate deeply the tax dollars that we receive from our community. And so one of our commitments above and beyond what many hospitals do is outreach activities that are related to health and wellness, and also specific issues of health in our community. So a few highlights include our mammography screening van, which includes the same level of technology as does the very highest level of technology, as do all of our mammography screening sites. And so that is very busy. We also welcome you to call us and say, I'd like to have it in my business or at the courthouse, wherever you'd like us to help serve the community of Kenmore. Also, we are well known for our community education programs, most often for moms and babies and families welcoming a baby or after a baby is born. Our reunion usually has 50 to 100 children every 6 months. Those families come back and share their stories with us, and Halloween is a favorite time because we get to see all those babies in Halloween costumes, their first year and their second year. So please look at the monitor, look online. We have a very robust website that only gains more and more visitors every year, and we see that as the front door to our organization. We also have a corporate wellness program, and that has always been presented as a community benefit. We have not taken it as a revenue producing service, but we do go to the companies that call us and we help them look at their benefit costs. And we say, here are some programs we have that might help you manage the health and well-being of your employees. And we provide counsel and support. And we include wellness screening, we include Doctor's Day, educational classes. So if you know of a company that would like that, please let us know, and we'll be in their office providing them some ideas. We also always remember to tell you, or try to remember, that we have Healthline, and that is a 24-hour, 7 days a week service for our community at no cost, whether you're our patient or not. And it allows for nurse triage, and we've saved many lives where people would call and say, I really don't want to go to the hospital, I think I'll be okay. We go through the symptom list with our expert certified nurses in phone triage. And many times we've been known to send an ambulance, even though they were resisting the idea that they were sick enough. So we also, during COVID, doubled our number of calls, and 80% of those were families that just needed a conversation. But those who needed some symptom checking, we immediately scheduled them for a COVID test if it was necessary. So it was a good system of care that we could activate above and beyond. And again, that's a levy-funded program. Make sure I get the right one here. So one of the other programs that we bring to the community, and that can be to community groups, PTA, church groups, is our disaster readiness. And the good news is this organization has invested in disaster readiness since the beginning of the organization began. And we were one of the sponsors of the regional Northwest Network. It was the structure and foundation for how we led our response to COVID. And we were thankful that we had so many people that automatically went into command and knew their part to play, and they knew who made the decisions, and they could quickly activate. We also want families to be prepared for the potential of a disaster. And as much as we don't like talking about it, we really want to talk about it so that people are prepared. So if you'd like us to come to a community event, we do have wonderful educators that can provide a program. And here we have a small ask. Every year when we do our strategic plan, our board helps us look at and reminds us to look at our community needs assessment. And that's the basis in which we make sure that our strategies and our resources and our people are dedicated to the top health issues of those who reside in our community. And that includes cancer, diabetes, and unfortunately mental health has risen to one of the top. And the fourth one is neuro and stroke. Thank you. And so we make sure that each year we sustain our standards of best practice in those areas of care. And then we also look beyond that to say what not only does the community need, but what do they want? So this year we're adding to that strategic planning effort by going directly to the community through a survey. And that was one of the reasons we especially appreciated the invitation tonight, because the timing is really valuable for us. We have the gift of Stephanie, who has joined us from New York, and you'll hear, and you'll know her soon, as she is, Jeff and I just said, I think she's met more people in the community in 6 months than the rest of us. And that's, the rest of us know, and that's in the midst of COVID. So she is an active partner on behalf of our communities. We are sending out a survey. We'll send it to you and invite you to share it with the rest of the community and ask simple questions like, how do you know us in the community today? What do you value? Where else might we provide benefit to the health and well-being of those we serve? And any ideas or suggestions for us. Our board is listening to this as they too would like to be even more present in our community. We have the historical gift of Lorene Burton. I'm sure all of you have known Lorene. She attended all the chambers, all the city councils, and so we're building off of her good foundation and work. So you'll hear from us through the survey. We'll be listening for your response, and we always welcome your calls and suggestions and anything we can do to serve you. So we invite questions now. I think we're right on our, almost on our time slot. Any questions for us tonight?
Kay, thank you so much. It's really great to have you and Jeff here. It's nice seeing you outside the hospital. Councilmember Curtis.
So I noticed that one of the community needs assessment was behavioral health. And as we've been reviewing police policies, the police department has a program called Radar, where they actually send a mental health specialist out with the police department. Are you guys familiar with that? Because it might be something you guys could coordinate and work with.
Yes, it's excellent. The other thing, thank you, I forgot to mention that we are launching throughout our entire district something called Mental Health First Aid. And that is a program that is an 8-hour educational session for families and teachers and anyone who are close to youth. And we want to make sure that we make that available in the entire district. And so that ties into your point that we go to where people are and where they're prepared to then have a conversation with a family member, or a teacher can say to a youth, he or she can identify issues by the nature of how they're talking or how they're behaving, and know what to do about it. We've all been in those moments, I'm sure, where we're kind of worried about somebody, but we don't know quite how to have that conversation. So this will train those close to the youth. and to give them confidence and skills. And it's a really effective program supported by King County, and it's a national program. So we're going to be sponsoring that. We've already started. And what you mentioned is similar to what we do for the homeless center, Milton, that we do the first triage screening by Healthline to say what is the right level of service for folks in a mental health crisis. And if they don't call us, then the fire truck goes out, and that can be a pretty expensive resource, and also a resource that is less effective. So that it's good to hear that you're aware of that program and others are. So maybe we can partner up and communicate it together. Thank you for the reminder. Other questions for Dr. Tomlin, or I'm going to put Stephanie on so you get to meet her.
Hi, everyone.
Hello again, Stephanie.
Hi, Mayor Baker. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm great.
I can take my mask off now.
You can.
Any other questions?
I just want to say how fortunate we are to have a facility like Evergreen right in the middle of our community. There's a number of us that take advantage of that, and it is a tremendous asset, and it's really grown in the community, and we're really, really proud to have it. Councilmember File.
Thank you, Mayor Baker. I just really want to thank Evergreen for really working hard to improve outcomes for our community. It's wonderful when we are able to serve the needs of our community and have improved healthy outcomes, and Evergreen's great at delivering on that. Absolutely. One of the things we've heard strongly from our community is the lack of available behavioral and social health services in our area. And that's something that could be very helpful. People do have to go to Seattle or Snohomish County, farther out on the east side to be able to get behavioral mental health services. So that is something that could truly deliver improved outcomes further yet for our community. And the other thing is, I hear breast cancer screening is actually going down, the number of people participating in their annual mammography screening. So what can we do to book the van coming out to our community to help serve our community?
Let us know. The van can be deployed at any time. There's obviously a schedule that they have, but we can work very closely with the van. So I would say I will make sure that Anastasia has my email address, and I will be the conduit to make sure that we can get the van out. And we would absolutely love to partner with the city of Kenmore on sponsoring and doing a screening event for folks in the community. So I will definitely follow up on that. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else wishing to be heard? All right. Thank you, Kay and Dr. Tomlin.
Thank you. Appreciate it all.
Stephanie, we really appreciate you guys being here and taking the time out of your schedule to do this. You're an important asset to the community. We always love to hear about what's going on at Evergreen. You are our hospital district, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys again.
Good to see
Great
you.
to see you. We're going to sign off. Have a
All
nice
right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Next item on the agenda is citizen comments. This is an opportunity for you to talk about what's important to you and to the community, and we ask that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And there will be a timer, and the clerk will keep track of the time. So, will the clerk please call the first person?
Vicki Grayland. Vicki Grayland, please.
Hi, this is Vicki Grayland, and I live in Kenmore. I want to thank the council for listening to citizen concerns last week about the asphalt plant. I especially want to thank you for directing the city manager to ask the plant to allow the city to test the emissions. And I wanted to follow up, and I'd like to hear the results of that request, whether the plant said yes or no, well, the plant owners said yes or no, and what are the next steps? And that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grayland. Clerk, please call the next person.
One moment. John Peoples. John Peoples. Mr. Peoples,
Yes. Can you hear me?
we
Yes,
can.
we hear you.
Excellent. Well, John Peoples, Kenmore. Good evening, Kenmore City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. I'd like to publicly bring to your attention a slightly different angle on the question of evaluating our community's policing that I don't think has been fully considered. Several demands have been made on the Kenmore Police Department to alter its training and operations in order to change the nature of policing in our community. One of those demands is de-escalation training. It's certainly a valid proposal, yet in order to be meaningful, I believe any obligation for police officers to de-escalate must be met with a mutual obligation for the citizen to de-escalate when interacting with police. De-escalation by the citizen means compliance with orders and remaining at the scene. No one wants to be arrested. It involves the loss of freedom and a large measure of humiliation, fear, and inconvenience. Yet I know that compliance with an officer's orders and remaining at the scene of the encounter are far more likely to lead to no injury to either the officer or the citizen than non-compliance and fleeing the scene will. Indeed, several of the recent national examples social justice advocates use to claim bias on the part of police resulted from non-compliance by the citizen trying to harm the officer and or fleeing the scene. These examples would most likely not have happened had the suspect complied, didn't try to hurt the officer, and or remained at the scene. So I commit to de-escalating when interacting with the police, and I invite my neighbors to do the same. Of course, this mutual obligation to de-escalate does involve a certain mutual trust. I look forward to engaging in some of the programs discussed in the last few weeks to help foster that mutual trust and de-escalation. I do hope that these programs allow for an honest two-way discussion of the benefits and perils that compliance or non-compliance pose to the community and the serious negative consequences that attempting to harm an officer or to flee the scene bring to all those involved and the community at large. In my few months in Kenmore, I'm not sure I've heard anyone else taking the time to really dig into this idea of mutual de-escalation to keep the peace. I dearly hope that changes in the weeks and months ahead. In the meantime, in case I don't see you before October 12th, I wish you all and all our neighbors a happy Columbus Day. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Mr. Peoples.
Thank you, Mr. Peoples. David Morton. Mr. Morton.
Hi, yes. Mr. Mayor, may I please share my screen?
Well, it seems like we've started that, so if there's no objection, yes, please.
Okay, let's see. Continue and, oh, there we go. All right. Good evening, council members and mayor. I'm David Morton. I live near Redmond. Many residents of Kenmore are smelling unpleasant asphalt fumes within 1.5 miles of Cadman materials. If you can smell the asphalt fumes, you're breathing harmful chemicals. These odors tell us there's a problem that needs to be fixed at Cadman. The EPA document AP 42 contains a description of the approved method for making hot mix asphalt, or HMA. AP 42 also explains how to estimate the amount of air pollution from an HMA facility. This estimation is valid only if the HMA facility uses the method described in AP 42, which involves mixing gravel and sand with performance-graded asphalt cement binder. It's illegal to use asphalt cement dissolved in kerosene to manufacture HMA. Asphalt cement dissolved in kerosene is called medium curing cutback asphalt. Let's look at the PSCAA on-site compliance evaluation report of Cadman materials from September 11th, 2017. On that date, PSCAA Inspector Hudson noted that I contacted Justin Bauer, operator. He said that Cadman had recently purchased CMEX. The asphalt temperature was about 320 degrees Fahrenheit. I observed the two asphalt tanks. Mr. Bauer said medium cure tank received regular refills, and the performance graded 7022 asphalt cement tank was almost full and not used very often, so it did not require additional shipments. To clarify, the plant operator said that the plant was now owned by Cadman. The asphalt temperature was 320 degrees Fahrenheit, which is normal for a facility using performance graded asphalt cement. However, if a medium curing cutback asphalt were used illegally to make HMA at this temperature, the plant would make a huge stench and emit thousands of times the permitted amount of VOCs. There are two asphalt tanks. These storage tanks are located just inside the west entrance to the yard. They contain binder, which will be mixed with gravel and sand to make HMA. One tank contains 7022, which is performance graded asphalt cement. The 7022 is not used very often at Cadman, but they should be using it. The other tank contains medium curing cutback asphalt, which is asphalt cement dissolved in kerosene, suggesting that the Cadman facility has often used cutback asphalt to make HMA, an illegal process which emits air contaminants in quantities sufficient to be injurious to people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms.
Clerk, please.
Ms. Janet Hayes. Janet Hayes.
Hello? Am I being heard?
We can hear you.
Okay. It's fine if you can't see me. I wanted to make a comment, and I love Evergreen. Nurse navigators are heaven sent, and so is Evergreen. So anyway, on with that. I'm thrilled they're there too. When I retired, I began living at the home all day and taking care of my mom, who is now 99. I began complaining about the odor, and no one was interested. Puget Sound Clean Air Agency in particular was not interested in what it was that we were breathing. That the company had been grandfathered in and there was no chance of getting any testing. The city manager had said last week that it may take over a year to issue a new permit. You know my position. I'm not even happy about any permit. What is to stop us from testing? Why doesn't King County Public Health test? These emissions are covering multi-family dwellings and residential. Kenmore exists here in a basin that traps all the air, and when it does leave, it goes up the draw of 68th. Where are there other asphalt plants that use nuisance contaminated soils in their products? Is there an MSDS of the product from contaminated nuisance soils that we can look at? Okay. Is Kenmore being proactive in finding out about this product? That it seems the product is the problem. Who regulates the contact and production of the nuisance contaminated soil product that is delivered to the asphalt plant? Does Puget Sound Clean Air Agency have a a public meeting? Can anyone speak at it? Are recycled asphalts used in the mixes, all mixes? It's a shame that citizens have to call Elizabeth, myself, Vicki Grayland, Patrick O'Brien, David Morton to find out about and complain about things to find out what to do. We'd like to be calling Kenmore. Thank you. That's it. Bye-bye. I made it.
Thank you, Mrs. Hayes.
Thank you. Rose. Rose, and as a reminder, please state your first, last name, and city of residence for the record.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Rose Hendricks. I live in Kenmore. Calling in again to request that public safety utilization types and rates are re-examined, and particularly with an eye towards looking at the interlocal agreement to look at what kind of responsibility reallocation might be possible, just to try and get that on the agenda to seriously consider and look at what the actual utilization is and what can be changed. I find it particularly offensive to call out noncompliance in the wake of Breonna Taylor's verdict or lack thereof. She was asleep. And I'd just like to remind anyone who has called in to get their flu shots and keep our community a little bit healthier in this challenging time. Thank you for your time, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sam Miller. Sam Miller.
Thank you very much. My name is Sam Miller, and I live off of 73rd Avenue Northeast in Kenmore at the intersection of Northeast 185th Street. I want to start by saying thank you for extending the no parking zones on 73rd to make my new community much safer. Our community's been lived in for just over a year now, the Preserve at Basalt community, and it has been a danger to enter and exit our community with the parking crowding the entrance. I would like to ask that you consider increasing the fines related to violating this no parking ordinance. My parents have lived in the Basalt 1 community for a little over 4 years now, and have had several interactions with the Sheriff's Department saying that the fines do not cover the court costs associated with the citation, and for that reason, they rarely actually cite people who are parking illegally. I find that to be very dangerous to people who live in my community and my parents' community and our elder relatives who come to visit. I'm always concerned when they go to leave. So I feel it's important to make the citation economically feasible so that officers will actually enforce the ordinance and ensure that I can enter and exit my community safely. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Elizabeth Mooney. Elizabeth Mooney.
Hello?
Elizabeth?
Hi, can you see me? Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, but your video is off.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Elizabeth
We
Mooney.
can see you now.
Okay, hi.
Hello.
Elizabeth Mooney, and I live in Northwest Kenmore. I agree with what Ms. Grayland, Mr. Morton, Mrs. Hayes said. I want to thank the council for taking action last week to ask Cadman if we can test emissions. I'd like to know when that letter or that telephone call is going out. I'm hoping it already went out, and the reason I say that is all this past week, the emissions have been chugging away, and I've heard from neighbors who are having to breathe it, who taste it, whose voices I can tell are affected by it. So if I could ask the council to please let us know, since I do believe it's dangerous emissions, and based upon what Mr. Morton has said And also based upon what Mr. Craig Kenworthy did not tell us last week, I have deep concerns about public health and safety. I would like to ask the City Council to begin a conversation about making your own laws, given this unusual situation in Kenmore. I think we're the only city with this many residences so close to a essentially grandfathered asphalt plant that is not required to have their emissions tested. And so if you could maybe consider making a law special to Kenmore and our need for clean air that would apply to everyone regarding potentially dangerous emissions. In particular, potentially dangerous emissions like those that David Morton presented earlier. Also, as far as zoning codes, does the city already have zoning codes that would protect our neighbors, like Kate Donaldson from tasting asphalt in her house? And I think Janet Hayes mentioned that as well. What code, if any, prevents emissions like these from Cal Portland, who is who's leasing to Cadman, from exposing neighbors, from health problems, and also from having potentially their property values reduced? What is going to happen to property values and businesses in the portion of Kenmore that is highly impacted by these emissions? Monday through Friday, they're really devastatingly disgusting and nauseating. I have made a habit of trying to get out of Kenmore and not go to downtown. I certainly don't walk there anymore, and my friends tell me when it's happening. And has Mr. Kenworthy told you how long it will take, like our city manager asked, to even have this permit out for public review? And may we make suggestions like you're doing so that the engineer will take them into consideration? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mooney.
Hello. Okay, my name is Nadia Reyna Silver of Kenmore. I just wanted to speak on a couple of things. First, I wanted to thank the council for last week's gesture towards mental health and improving mental health access in Kenmore. It really is a very close to home topic, not just for me personally, for my anxiety, but for my son, who has a diagnosed mental condition of depression. We would have to go, there's one called, escapes my brain, but it's way over in the lakeside area. And for us, we don't have a vehicle, so we would have to take public transportation. And it would take us an hour to get all the way there and an hour to get all the way back, and it was an entire ordeal. For every time we had to change therapist, every time we had to change psychiatrist or psychologist, we would have to go to Redmond or Kirkland or, you know, frankly, almost to Queen Anne. So I just wanted to say thank you for really listening to us, those in the mental health community, and taking us seriously, because mental health needs to be taken care of first. It is a precursor to many other negatively impacting social occurrences, incidences, etc. So thank you for that. And I'm here for the entire Evergreen conversation. The Evergreen urgent care we have now is fan-freaking-tastic. I want them to expand, if at all possible, here in Kenmore to include mental health. Because they have been so awesome, including those who are on public health assistance. Two more things. Reforming police procedure suggestion, scouting and hiring process, if we could examine that. Because King 5 has this ongoing series called Facing Race. And last night's episode was Race and Policing. And in the episode, Gig Harbor Captain Police brought up a method that I don't think we've actually yet covered here in Kenmore. And it's changing how police are scouted and hired. I totally missed that part myself, so it's definitely not a criticism on you guys whatsoever. I was glad to hear another spectrum from which to examine fair and equitable policing. And I asked that we ask Chief Moen the details on the requirements of physical, mental, and emotional readiness in our police hiring process. Emotional readiness testing is not a full answer. I'll put you that right now. But it will help in deciding who is capable of being a good and fair cop and deserving of being hired in our community. I also add my voice.
Mr. Silver, your time has expired. Council, we have one more attendee that would like to speak unless others haven't raised their hand. Miss Aditi Jain. Aditi Jain.
Hello.
Hello,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Hello, council members. My name is Aditi Jain, and I'm a resident of Bothell. Thank you for all that you're doing. I wanted to stress how important it is that the city advocates to the Puget Sound Clean Air Agency for clean air in our region, for its residents and wildlife. Clean air is a human right and must be prioritized. A petition that calls on Puget Sound Clean Air Agency to require testing in compliance with modern emission standards at the Kenmore asphalt stack has 482 supporters now. 482 people believe that this company should not be allowed to operate in such a manner. It is up to the city to help Puget Sound Clean Air Agency know that our community can no longer ignore this issue. We need transparency in what is being emitted into the air, especially because of the long-term impacts of asphalt-related emissions are not well known. It is better to side with safety and public health. Here are some other Kenmore voices that you should hear. From Seema Hinson, I love where I live. And this is a quote, I love where I live. As a cancer survivor, I should not feel unsafe at my own home. Every weekday, when the asphalt facility is in operation, I am forced to close my windows to prevent the ever so noxious smelling fumes to enter my home. I want to have peace of mind that I'm not being poisoned. And I also wanted to stress, in terms of the policing, I wanted to stress Breonna Taylor's case and how de-escalation on the part of citizen would not have done much because she was asleep. I wanted to leave the city with this very important distinction in anti-racism, which I assume all of you are interested in pursuing. Instead of finding alternative forms of policing in de-escalation efforts, we must find alternatives to policing. This means decreasing police power, what they do, and the size of their force. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jane.
Is there anyone else in attendance that would like to speak that hasn't had a chance to address the mayor and council? Mayor and council, I see no other hands raised at the moment.
Thank you all for your comments. Mr. City Manager, could you please get back to Ms. Grayland and the others that asked about the asphalt plant and their response to us asking to test? Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded, and I think it's been moved by Councilmember O'Kane and Councilmember Curtis, if I'm not mistaken. No.
I seconded it, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by,
There was two of you together making the motion. So Councilmember O'Kane and Deputy Mayor seconded. All right. There's a motion before us to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda stands approved. Next item on the agenda is eligible reimbursement expenditures related to the use of the city's $1,049,400 allocation for coronavirus relief funds under the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act, CARES Act. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm looking for one of my coworkers. Yes, Debbie Bent, there you are. And Lori Anderson are going to present on this item tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, City Manager. So we're here to give you an update on the CRF coronavirus relief funds that the city is eligible for. And as the Mayor said, that's $1,049,400. So this is money that the city can receive reimbursement of eligible city costs for COVID-related expenses. And we can also allocate those funds to provide assistance to businesses, human service agencies, or other organizations in the community to offset their eligible costs related to COVID-19. The city has entered into a contract with the Department of Commerce, who are administering eligible reimbursement requests, and ratification of that contract will be on the council's consent agenda next week. So in your packet, we provided a summary of how those expenditures could be divided. We estimate that about half of that cost could be for city eligible expenditures in the categories of payroll, expenses that were incurred to facilitate teleworking, PPE, and other safety measures. So taking out city expenditures, you are looking at a little over 500,000 then as to how else to allocate it. And we are suggesting that that could be about $110,000 for rental assistance for Kenmore residents. And last week you passed a resolution that authorized the city manager to enter into a contract with HopeLink for up to a not to exceed amount of $300,000. The information that we've currently received from HopeLink, they're estimating that those eligible expenses could be around $100,000, which is why we put in that amount of $110,000. We're also suggesting about $133,000 for Kenmore business assistance, for grants to small businesses, for business opening kits, and to assist Bastille University. The next category that we are suggesting is just over $95,000 for assistance to human service agencies serving Kenmore residents. Staff did reach out to the human service agencies and asked if there was need out there. So this dollar amount is based on the information that we received. The next category that we are suggesting is a little over $200,000 for assistance to schools, for the North Shore School District and for the North Shore School Foundation. And again, this is to cover eligible expenses related to internet access, helping their students get access to the internet or by providing hotspots. Also for PPE, a daycare that the school district set up for emergency responders. And the last category that we are anticipating would be $20,000 for assistance to Kenmore arts and cultural organizations. The amounts that we have put into the categories are just that, they're general estimates, and the final amounts may actually vary. On the next week's council agenda, we're anticipating bringing back a resolution similar to the one that you passed for rental assistance, but this would then outline the terms for providing funds to human service agencies and the schools. That's the end of my presentation. Happy to answer any questions, and other staff are also here that can assist with questions as well.
Questions, Councilmember Curtis.
Debbie, can you give us a little more information on the 20,000 for assistance for Kenmore arts and cultural organizations and how that relates to coronavirus?
Yes. So again, there's Laurie. We reached out to the arts and cultural organizations, and we received requests from several organizations. And this again was to assist with things like with PPE and other costs. And I would ask Laurie to jump in because she has a more detailed list in front of her with what some of those costs would be.
Hi, good evening. I have too much light here. So when we asked the arts organizations, there were initially some of the comments had to do with lost revenues, and lost revenues are not something that can be funded through this money. But we are anticipating going back to them and getting information about expenses they may have incurred as a result of COVID, whether they had to provide PPE for their staff, or they had to lay off staff, for example. And we don't have all the details of that, but we're looking at 3 or 4 different agencies. So it would be anticipated it might be $5,000 per agency if they can show us that in fact they do have direct costs.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Councilmember Marshall.
Thanks. Is there any information about how North Shore School District is, or to the extent it's funding or not funding, apparently then the hotspots, such that there is a need for hotspots that the Schools Foundation, I guess, has identified? Any more information about that?
I think it was in the range of about $100,000 for the school district and also for the North Shore Schools Foundation.
Right.
And-
I was going to say the North Shore School District also had a number of other related expenses. They had quite a few expenses related to PPE and cleaning supplies, handheld sanitizers, thermometers. They had to develop special containers for the meals that they were providing to students. So they had a variety of items, and then also it was about 71,000 for T-Mobile hotspots. The North Shore Schools Foundation had also some PPE, plexiglass, PPE supplies, and then they were also wanting to have some money for emergency aid for students, as well as the additional ability to connect to broadband. They were talking about actually funding some broadband for a couple of months. These funds are only available for use through November 30.
And so it was something that the foundation did not expect that the district was going to reimburse. I guess we're just talking about a shortfall. It didn't get covered, and they didn't expect it to be covered.
Well, the foundation is forward looking. So they were thinking of money to do some more additional installations and to pay for broadband over the next couple of months. And then again, this emergency aid to students who were suffering from the effects of COVID. Their parents had lost their job or something like that, food assistance, etc.
Deputy Mayor.
So I just want to clarify, we're talking about both money for the foundation as well as the district itself?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the use of the $1,049,400 of coronavirus relief funds, CRF, based upon estimated eligible reimbursement expenditures.
Happy to make the motion, Karina File.
I'll second.
And Deputy Mayor seconded. Wonderful. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, the motion in front of us then is to approve the use of the $1,049,400 of coronavirus relief funds based on estimated eligible reimbursement expenditures. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Deputy Mayor Herbig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shrubnik,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Kane,
Yes.
Councilmember File,
Yes.
Councilmember Curtis,
Yes.
Mayor Baker.
Yes.
The vote is unanimous.
All right, next item on the agenda is ordinance number 20.
Hang on. I don't think I voted. wasn't
Councilmember Marshall,
Yes.
thank you.
Now the vote is unanimous. All right, next item on the agenda is ordinance number 200511, amending section 5.105.040 and 5.105.090 of the Kenmore Municipal Code relating to exemption and renewals of the business registration program. And I don't have who the presenter's on here. I'm assuming it is our assistant city manager, Ms. Owsley.
That is correct, Mayor Baker. Good evening, everyone. I'm Nancy Owsley, Assistant City Manager, speaking to you from the Central Time Zone tonight. And we are bringing forward for your consideration an ordinance that would make some changes to our business registration code. The council first adopted a requirement for certain local businesses who have a physical location in the city of Kenmore to participate in business registration. And I think we all agree that there's never been a more important time to connect with our business community than the last several months. And this has really been the purpose of the business registration program, to get a better idea of what our business community looks like, and more importantly, what are their needs, and how can we connect and serve them better. Some things about the registration ordinance that, as it was first adopted in 2013, as I said, it was keeping fees low. It's a local fee of $10 per year, and we partner with the State Department of Revenue to handle the registration, and there is an administrative fee charged by the state. But it's easy. It's kind of one-stop transaction for local businesses. We're unusual in the fact that it's only those businesses with a physical location in Kenmore are the ones that are required by this ordinance, the existing ordinance, to get a business registration. And the ordinance that we're bringing to you tonight would change one thing, and that is to change what is the minimum gross income that triggers the requirement to participate in business registration. It has been $12,000 per year for this period of time. And some things have changed over the last few years. In 2018, state legislation was enacted that among other things, resulted in a model ordinance being adopted, and the requirement for all municipalities that had a business license or registration program to partner with the State Department of Revenue in administering it, just like we have been doing since the time that our ordinance was first adopted. So we are proposing to bring that annual general income threshold that triggers the requirement in line with what the overall state guidance is. So instead of a $12,000 annual general income for businesses, it would be $2,000 per year. We don't propose any change in that location criteria, but we do think that this will help broaden the group of businesses that we can connect with. And when I say connect with, I'm going to ask Teresa McAllister to join us shortly from our office. You may know her mainly as the public records officer, but she is also a very important part of our city manager's staff. When I talk about connecting with businesses, getting to know more about their needs and what are some of their challenges, that helps us in designing programs. It's helped us just in the last couple of months know how to reach out to businesses and let them know when things like business supplies for keeping their workers and their customers safe are available to be picked up at City Hall. So we try and be very respectful and not overwhelm our local businesses with information 24/7 or anything like that. But there's never been a more important time than now to be able to know more about what business needs are and how to connect with them, particularly when you consider that 2/3 of our registered businesses are home-based. And so it's not like you can walk down the main street and feel like you've touched or connected with most of our businesses. So that is the main part of the ordinance before you tonight, is to change that threshold of the annual general income from $12,000 to $2,000. No change is being proposed for the fee. I will point out that in the agenda bill, the administrative fee charged by the Department of Revenue for annual renewal did change in July. It is now $10 and instead of $11. So again, we hope that this helps us connect even better with our local business community. And we do also look forward in the coming months to having some more time with the council to talk a little bit more about what we've learned about the local business community through our business registration program. So with that, I'll ask if Teresa has anything to add.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
You bet we can.
Hi, Mayor and City Council. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I do want to just give you a quick overview of how we do connect with the registered businesses and how the a BLS partnership works for us. BLS as in Business Licensing and Services Division of the Department of Revenue. Monthly, we send out a communication to all of our newly registered businesses, thanking them for joining the Kenmore Business Registration Program and informing them of how the program helps the city connect with and better serve the Kenmore's business community. Within that same communication, we invite them to submit their business to be listed in the Kenmore Business Directory, found at www.findthekenmore.org, which is hosted on our city website. With the new design of our website, the city can now host the directory using a built-in website component, saving the city from using a third-party vendor, saving some costs. Additionally, we are able to directly contact our registered businesses to inform them of upcoming business events and training and other programs designed to support local businesses. Currently, we have 10 businesses undergoing a business training seminar. And then also the BLS provides administrative support, as Nancy mentioned, for Kenmore businesses when they're seeking to apply for a city registration. They do so by going to the Department of Revenue's website, where they would obtain their state business license. And that is the same place they apply for a city addendum, which in turn creates a business registration. The data that is collected from these applications is accessible by the city through a secure portal. And those staff members, the city staff members that have signed a confidentiality agreement can access that data. As I think Nancy might have mentioned, as of today, we have just over 900 businesses that are registered, and with the majority of those being home-based businesses. One other interesting fact, 2 of the top business types that we've seen come through in our registrations are residential construction and remodeling businesses. Majority of those are home-based businesses, as well as management consulting services. And that's all I have tonight. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Teresa.
Sure.
Questions? I don't see any questions. Are there any questions? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 20-051. Is there a motion?
So moved. Councilmember File.
Second, Councilmember O'Kane.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Marshall,
Yes.
Councilmember Shrubnik,
Yes.
Councilmember File,
Yes.
Councilmember Curtis,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Kane,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herbig,
Yes.
Mayor Baker.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. And you may have noticed in the ordinance that this ordinance would become effective in December. So that will give us time to publicize this to the business community. Thank you very much.
So next item on the agenda is resolution number 20-354, expressing an official position in support of King County Proposition Number 1, Harborview Medical Center Health and Safety Improvement Bonds. Pursuant to RCW 42.17.A555, members of the public and council members will receive approximately equal opportunities to express an opposing view. Harborview Hospital is going out to the public here on the ballot for funds to improve the facility. They are wanting to earthquake-proof a few of the buildings at Harborview to finish that process. They're wanting to create a number of mental health beds, which are really needed in the region, and to do further improvements in the hospital. Harborview Hospital is the only level 1 trauma center in a 4-state region, and that region includes Washington, Alaska, Montana, and Idaho. It is an extremely important regional facility. They turn nobody away who needs treatment. And they're a world-renowned hospital. They have a tremendous staff with University of Nebraska Medical Center, University of Nebraska, University of Washington Medical Center. And the buildings and facilities are owned by the county, yet the hospital is run by the University of Washington and is staffed by the University of Washington. And the University of Washington pays rent to the county. But these buildings are in serious need of renovation, and heaven knows we need the mental health facilities in the region. So, Councilmember Shrubnik, anything you want to add to this, or Councilmember Curtis?
Just briefly, thank you, Mayor Baker. I will just speak very briefly to the behavioral health beds. You may be aware, Washington State has one of the lowest psychiatric beds per capita of any state in the country. And it's been very difficult to get more beds. So this is an opportunity to provide some more needed beds in the community. And while I'm typically not a huge advocate, I am much more of an advocate of alternatives to hospitalization in my professional life than I am to hospitalization. However, we are so in need of beds that it gets to a point where it's very difficult to provide alternatives for all of the people who need them. There are always going to be some people who need actual hospital beds.
Yeah, Dr. Curtis, Councilmember Curtis, yes.
I'll speak to it. I did surgery, psychiatry, and emergency room training at Harborview. The training is fantastic. The care is amazing. It is a resource, a regional resource that we really need to protect. It's like sitting on the edge of a hill. If that thing ever slid down the hill, the whole area would be in big trouble. So the earthquake proofing to keep it functioning as a trauma center, that's also important, like the behavioral health bed. So I support it.
I think you read in the newspapers almost every day that somebody in critical care from all over the region is taken to Harborview, because Harborview is really the only facility around that can handle the level of trauma that that's needed in many instances. So is there any questions, any other comments? So this is Agenda Bill C, and what we're looking for is a resolution. This is a resolution to support the bond issue.
Mayor
Councilmember,
Baker, there are 2 hands raised.
yeah, I see
Councilmember.
Councilmember File.
Thank you, Mayor Baker. You know, I know our community is going to see the price tag and they're going to say, oh, wow, that's a pretty big price tag. Would you like to share just how that will actually feel to our community? I think you're really well briefed on this issue.
Yeah, I don't really know what the cost to the quote average homeowner will be, but it's countywide. It's not Kenmore. It's covered over the whole county over a number of year period. And the actual cost per household, I'm not sure. Councilmember Marshall.
And my question, just for the city attorney, have we done everything we need to do procedurally to consider and entertain this motion, Ms. City Attorney?
Her video was on and she's there ready to pounce. I can see it.
Thank you for that question. I believe the mayor may have been about to ask, but we do have one more procedural step, which is to ask if anybody in the public would like to provide comments relating to this topic.
Right. Is anybody in the public wanting to be heard on this topic?
I'm seeing 1 hand raised, and that is Ms. Nadia Silver.
Ms. Silver?
Hello, yes, thank you. I just finished reading the resolution and everything that is available on the subject, and I actually am very supportive of this. As we know, I'm all about getting more access to mental health and behavioral health. And so hearing this makes me very excited for our future solution to our lack of mental health in the region. Also, yes, let's earthquake proof our only health facility to handle our most severe cases. Let's do that. So yes, I support the council if they support this as well.
Thank you, Ms. Silver. Appreciate your comments. Councilmember Srebnick.
I'm just looking online quickly to see if I can come up with the figures. It looks like 17 or 18 cents per 1,000 assessed value. So that's around 100 for a median house.
Thank you, Councilmember File. I appreciate that.
Oh, I'm sorry. And that is, yeah, and that's total. So it's 18 a year. Yeah, sorry about that.
$18
Well,
per
this is
year per
confusing. Sorry. I may not have this correct. Take the 18 or 19, 17 or 18 per 1,000, but then the sentences after that are a little confusing. So,
17 or 18 cents per thousand?
yes.
Okay. Deputy Mayor, did I see your hand go up? No.
No, thank you.
Councilmember Curtis?
I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution 20-354 to express an official position in support of King County Proposition Number 1, Harborview Medical Center Health and Safety Improvement Bonds.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Mayor Baker,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herbig,
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall.
Yes.
Councilmember Shrug,
It was not coming through, but I think you called my name. Yes.
Councilmember File,
Yes.
Councilmember Curtis,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Kane.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is Sound Cities Association 2020 booklet. Councilmember File?
Thank you, Mayor Baker, and I'm sure you can provide equally added information here and support this discussion. So the Sound City Association has the committees appointments are coming open and available. There are new rules. There's a new form required online, and they are only allowing one application per council. So if there's multiple applications from a council to any one committee, both get thrown out. And I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to take a look at the positions available of committees to serve around the region representing the Sound Cities Association. But we only have until the 2nd to kind of formalize our plan. And I welcome any discussion, and hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at that.
Questions, comments? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
I mean, I was looking through some of the materials sent out by SCA, and at the end of one of them, they have kind of an FAQ, and it says which committees have vacancies for 2021. And the question kind of carries a little more weight this year because they're allowing anybody who served this year in a one-year term to reapply and pretty much automatically get reappointed because of the whole COVID situation, so that they feel like they can actually, you know, participate meaningfully. And I'd asked Leah which ones actually had openings that they knew of. This doesn't mean that some people won't reapply for their own positions, but the ones that they just have that are open, it looks like King County Flood Control District Advisory Committee and the Emergency Management Advisory Committee are the two that they know they have openings for. Other ones will probably open up if incumbents don't apply to keep their own position for another year. But those are the only two that have known openings at this time. That said, I would like to submit, just in case something happens, an application for either, well, the Regional Transit Committee is one that I would like to put my name in, just in the off chance that an opening happens.
Councilmember Shrubnik.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned to you, I'll go ahead and reapply since I had a short tenure with the Growth Management Planning Council.
Anybody else? Councilmember File?
I was just going to say, if you haven't had an opportunity to take a look through the packet does have the dates and times when these meetings occur. So if you need to check in with your calendar. And Mayor Baker, who would
Yep.
you like the contact person to be? Would you like to oversee
No,
that? Or
not necessary. The form is there. It's pretty explanatory, and you're free to apply for any position you want. And I don't know what else to say about that. This has always been a pretty open process, but this is unique this year because of the virus and because a lot of people haven't really had a chance to finish their term or finish out the year. So there's a number of people that are going to go for reappointment. The Sound Cities Association on the committees has a 5-year max time to serve. So you can be reappointed for up to 5 years. And then you're asked to step down for a year and then you can go back again. But in any event, Deputy Mayor?
I mean, I think Councilmember File's point is just that she wants to ensure that we're not having 2 people applying for the same board. I also forgot to mention, I was looking at the list again, and I was also planning on putting a application in for the Affordable Housing Committee also. Again, not that there's any indication there's openings there, but I figure it can't hurt. You never know. So if you're planning on that or regional transit, let me know so we can keep from having conflicts.
And I'm going to reapply for Board of Health and for the PSRC Exec Committee. Anybody else?
just to clarify what Councilmember Nigel was saying earlier, the Regional Flood Committee has had a new opening. Somebody was unable to continue that term, as well with the emergency planning committees. So those two are open vacancies, and they're looking for someone to fill those slots.
Yeah, the Regional Flood Control District.
Yes, thank you. I
Is there
think,
anything else you wanted to add?
well, I was just going to say, personally, myself, I'm trying to take a real close look at my commitments for the new year. I'm currently dual enrolled in programs right now between wrapping up my behavioral and social health services undergrad and just starting the public health program. And so I think it's always a good idea as a new council member to watch and observe. And I appreciate growing and learning, even in an alternate capacity at this point. So that's all I have to share. Thank you.
All right. Anything else on this topic, Councilmember File? Nope. All right. My understanding is there is no staff report. So we'll go to Councilmember reports and comments. Councilmember O'Kane.
I have a brief comment. We had our first RIA 8 Salmon Recovery Council Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion meeting last week. We're a community of about, I think, 7 people at this point, starting from scratch. And we're also going to be adding, it was suggested to add environmental justice to our focus. So it's exciting to get going on this. We plan on having something to present to RIA 8 in November for feedback, and hope to really start moving ahead with it officially in January. As I get updates, I will share information as we proceed as might apply to City of Kenmore. It's pretty exciting to be moving forward with the DEI and Environmental Justice Initiative along with our salmon recovery. I also just want to thank our citizen comment again this evening. It's really great to hear from you and your insights on public safety, the asphalt plant environment, and mental health as well. So that's all I have for you today, and thank you.
Councilmember Marshall.
Thanks to everyone involved for, I think, a very efficient meeting this evening. And thanks to Councilmember File for reminding us of the position openings.
Councilmember Curtis.
Nothing to add.
Councilmember Srebnick.
Nothing to add.
Councilmember File.
Thank you, Mayor Baker. I attended a number of additional regional training meetings over the last week. And on September 22nd, I attended a Sound Cities Association networking event virtually. And part of the discussion amongst the regional leaders is about the needs of our community and how they've changed regarding power usage, internet demand and need, childcare. And we were challenged to look ahead to what we might be able to do to help support our local businesses and community as we head into those winter months and into spring. And thinking about that, some of the input was really rather interesting in supporting our local restaurants. Some are talking about how they might be able to add some permit exemptions or extensions for outdoor eating, allowing heated elements, and what they might be able to do to work with businesses or support them a little further through. And one of the biggest concerns is as we open or reopen and get into different stages of reopening from COVID, is the challenges of childcare for our workforce, with the limitations on childcare and the amount of persons you can have in an occupied space. There's going to be a childcare issue. And Councilmember Srebnick had mentioned in a prior meeting how some of our workforce is choosing to leave the workforce just due to the demand of COVID and education at home and remote learning. And so I'm really happy that we supported North Shore and families tonight with this type of COVID-related support. But going into winter months, we're probably also going to be looking at the needs of our homeless shelters. There's a reduced bed capacity, and we might need to be looking with our nonprofit partners to see what kind of needs they may have. I'm interested if you have any thoughts on these issues yourselves or feedback.
Thank you, Councilmember File. Deputy Mayor.
Nothing to add. It's wonderful to have a meeting finish before 11.
Yes, it is indeed. I had a meeting on Saturday evening with the people at Lakewood Villas Manufactured Home Park. It was really good. It was fairly well attended. We met outside. We had one of the residents there with a tape measure that was making sure the chairs stayed at least 8 feet apart. Everybody had a mask on. There was a lot of really good question about what's going on in the city. There's been some comments made about how people were really in the dark and didn't know what's going on. And I found out these people were very well informed and knew exactly what was going on. I know there was some comments made that nobody had reached out to them when we were looking at the next door facility for a public works, and they said they were kept very well informed by the city. They'd had a couple of meetings, so that was all encouraging to hear. So all in all, it was a really, really good meeting, and I was very happy that they asked me to come do that, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. So with that, unless there's any other business to come before us, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Night.
Good night. Thank you.
Well done.
Looks like you're still recording, by the way.